Students, we are talking about safety on our machinery in the order that you'll be using the machines. So when I give you a long board, you'll be either using the radial arm saw, which we talked about last video, or the miter saw to cut it into your rough lengths. So let's talk about the miter saw safety here today. Wanted to show you several of the settings. This is a compound miter saw. In other words, not only will it cut miters or angles, but it'll also cut bevels. Okay, you can see the bevel scale back here, and there is a locking mechanism back here. If it was loosened, then you could then set it to bevels. Also in front here is your locking miter button and the lock. If you pull it up and you push the button down, it will go to every 15 degrees. Okay, if you let loose of the button, it'll lock into the next 15-degree angle. All right, and then I'm going to take it back to 0. See our indicator here saying it's at 0. Okay, so that's our miter control, and we want to lock it in with the lockdown handle. Okay, what else can I tell you? Over here, this is our on-off button, right? This is our light switch, so that'll help you line up to your mark for cutting lengths. Back in the back here is a lockdown. Okay, if you have it locked, you cannot bring the blade out, but unlocked, it will allow us to bring the blade forward as well to cut a wider board. Okay, there is a pin here that has to be pulled right here. You see it? And it's spring loaded, this machine is. Okay, if I push down on this machine, I can then pull the pin. Let's see if I can do that for you. If I push down, I can pull the pin easily, and then the blade will come up. Okay, when you leave this machine, I want it to be locked down with the pin, and I want it to be locked down back here as well in the back. All right, and of course the light turned off. I'm going to make a cut, so let's take that pin out. Okay, so let me put my GoPro on here. Of course, this is the bed, right? This is the fence. We want to keep whatever we're cutting tight on the bed and tight to the fence. All right, let's do a cut. I'm just going to take off an inch or so. Once again, we want it tight along the fence, tight to the bed, and I'm just cutting 1 inch to show you a cut real quick here. Fingers 6 inches from the blade, minimum on all machines, right? So we're going to go down, out, and off if we have to come out at all. Some boards are wider and you'll have to come out with the blade. Okay, so we never want to raise the guard, right? So we're exposed to the blade. Leave the guard in place. Here we go, nice and slow, making a cut. Down, all the way down, out, and off. And I come out just far enough to make my cut. Okay, then we take care of our scrap, and we're ready for the next length and the next length. Okay, you'll have measured and marked in chalk probably your part lengths. Okay, so that's nice and simple for cross-cutting our board. Once again, we never rip on this machine. Cross-cutting is across the grain. Okay, ripping is on the table saw. All right, let's talk about some safety. I've got my safety test here. You guys will have to pass by 100% on the miter saw to be able to then performance test for me before you use the machine on your own. All right, so do not modify the machine without the safety vices. The guards should always be used, and that goes on all of the machines. We never use the machine without the guard, If we have a cut where we need to take the guard off, that's a special use, and I have to be there, and I probably will make the cut for you if I have to remove a guard, but never necessary on the miter saw. Okay, we would never want to start the saw in contact with our wood, right? We start it up here, we bring it down, and then out and off, okay? And that goes for any machine. You want the machine to reach full RPM before you contact the wood and make the cut. Got to be careful that the wood is not contacting the blade when you turn the machine on. I've already mentioned it. Another safety rule, make sure our piece is up tight to the fence, straightest edge against the fence, and flat on the table before we make our cut. All right, as in the the radial arm saw, we would not want to cross our arms, okay? You always hold the piece with your left hand, 6 inches from the blade, and you operate the machine, the blade, with your right hand. If you were to cross, that puts our arm in line with the blade, and that would be very bad, okay? Left hand holds, right hand pulls the blade through our board for cross-cutting. And I've said this multiple times, never place your fingers closer than 6 inches on any to any blade or any cutting head on any of our machinery. That's our general rule. 6 inches is minimum. And another general rule, you'll see this on multiple machines, we don't want to start cutting until it's reached its full RPM. Bandsaw, for example, takes a few seconds for it to reach full RPM. Okay, so table saw, drill presses, miter, radial arm saw, turn it on, let it reach its full RPM before you start the operation. We've mentioned this before. Wait till the blade stops, turn the machine off, blade stops before you remove any scrap. Miter saw, just like the radial arm saw, for cross-cutting only, not ripping. Cross-cutting is across the grain. We have a safety question talking about turning on the dust collector before you use machinery, and that's the case on almost all of our machinery. Radial or our miter saw is not hooked up. There is a dust collector here. I may get a portable dust collector and hook it up, and then we could have less dust in this area. That would be an option. I need to get rid of this device here first. Our boxes are kind of in the way. But yeah, if we have a dust collector hooked up, we want to make sure it's on before we do our operation. Clean off the table, and that goes for any machine. Before you cut the next board, keep your table clean. All right, so guys, once again, I'm going to get this locked down, pulling it down, pushing it back, putting my pin in, and locking down our device here, turning off the light, and that's how we want to leave it. All right, we'll see you for the next machine.